I would like to bring the selectmen's meeting to order at 7 o'clock with a roll call vote. Phil Preston?
Yep.
Danny Golden?
Here.
Jeanette Stewart? Here. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll have the reorganization of the select board, and the first one is the chairman.
Would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jeanette Stewart as chairman.
Second that?
Motion has been made. Everybody, anybody, excuse me, all of you in
You've all
favor?
spoken.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'd like to move that Dan Golden be vice chair.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have to do a liaison for the budget committee.
I recommend Phil Preston for liaison to the budget committee.
I'll second that motion.
I'm at the bottom of the learning curve on that.
That's okay.
Oh,
That's
I
okay with the
last
budget
year,
committee.
Okay.
but you learn fast.
And then we,
But you are the treasurer for the Ashland Historical Society. I think that's
That's
an excellent
tremendous
qualification.
responsibility.
I think
And
it's
we
an
also-
excellent qualification.
Tremendous responsibility.
okay, let's vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Danny, would you be willing to be the alternate for that?
I'll be the alternate.
Okay, Danny's going to be the alternate. Planning board.
I recommend Jeanette Stewart for the planning board liaison.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I guess that's all we have to do tonight,
You
right?
need an alternate.
You don't have an alternate?
For the
Danny,
planning
will you be
board.
alternate for the planning board? Danny's going to be the alternate for budget committee on Sunday.
You want a motion on that?
Nah. Okay, approval of minutes for March 5th and March 12th.
No, all the fifth alternates.
March 12th, Patsy, we're going to have to just put that in the book because Glenn and I were the only ones here for that, so that'll have to just be in the book. I'm not going to grab it, I'll be all set. I have one correction. Danny, did you have anything for
No,
March
you didn't do
5th?
much better, right?
Yeah, March 5th. Did you have anything?
No.
I'll make them, oh, it was March 12th, isn't it?
So we're not doing,
We're doing March 5th.
We're doing March 5th first. Oh, I did have a correction on March 5th. On page 2, line number 8, about the junkyard license audit for Buskey's Auto was completed on March 5th. And I think it should say by the town administrator and selectman steward. Okay, so any questions on that? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of March 5th with corrections. Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'll abstain.
Okay, motion carries. Okay, old business, fire department roof.
After the passing of the operating budget, we had $50,000 approved by the town. If you look back over the engineer's report, clearly Linda Perry answered the four questions that were the four topics that were raised. However, the cost items range from $40,000 to $175,000. With the $50,000, I've made a recommendation to the board, if you agree, to direct me to go back to Linda Perry and say how wisely can we spend this $50,000 with either looking at the strengthening, looking at the drains, and certainly repairing, replacing parts of the roof. I'd like
I was just
Fire
gonna
Chief
ask
Heath
if
is here
Steve-
tonight,
Steve?
and I'd like his commentary on that request.
I would agree, and agree to the comment you made in the memo also, Paul, that we're not engineers. In the report, she suggested that we get some more engineering study done, particularly in the area of how best to go about strengthening the trusses, and also evaluating the concrete deck. I'm wondering if that, I don't know, but I'm wondering that might be a great place to start. And if we could do it, as you say, as many things as possible on this list, but do it in an order that made sense. And I would think that perhaps figuring out if we're going to have to consider replacing that deck or not, or if it's fine, then we move from there and we've solved that problem. But I think that would be good to know first.
Definitely before we put the roof on.
Our major concern is the insulation is still saturated, and we have to do something with that first, and that's what, the drains are an option, improving, removing, replacing drains, but strengthening trusses also.
Right.
So I think
But you don't know
no,
how good they are.
that's right, that's right.
So you're in agreement with that, Steve?
Absolutely.
Okay. How about the board? Is it okay to let Paul follow through on that?
Yeah, that's all we have is $50,000, so we've got to go over the $50,000 plus priorities on the roof, the insulation, the support. I think those, we'll take a few things at a time, whatever the $50,000 will fix, but those are the priority things, I think.
You understand that one? Okay.
Okay.
You have the
Thank
board's approval?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Northern Lakes Veterinarian Hospital, would you like to do that?
This is a topic that was raised last year. It's a double-edged sword. It's barking dogs under the RSA for noisy dogs, and also it's unauthorised kenneling. When Dr. Lester, who owns Northern Lakes Hospital, came before the planning board in 1993 for a site plan review, he was authorised to have a vet hospital only. On that site plan, there was no outside kennel put on there. Subsequently, of course, he has to have dogs go outside so that he can clean up the indoor containment area. When Mr. McBurney and Mr. Bell bought the property next door, there was an issue with the barking dogs, first of all. We've had him in non-public, we've had Dr. Lester here in non-public. Now it's become an issue, and it's become an issue with his legal people, McBurney and Bell, and our town attorney. The town attorney has had to respond to McBurney and Bell's attorney for obvious reasons, because you can't leave it lying. And I said we were going to have a meeting tonight, and where should we go? The recommendation of the attorney is twofold. One is to go back to Dr. Lester and ask him to come before the planning board at the next meeting and have a site plan drawn up. He's already contacted Tony Randall in his capacity as a surveyor, and it's on Tony's list of things to do. And we'll try and get the date worked out for April, so that Dr. Lester can come before the planning board and revisit the situation.
The only thing with April, it really doesn't give him much time, because that's the first Wednesday of April.
Well, that is
I wonder if we shouldn't wait until the first Wednesday of May. I mean, he's got to come up
Yeah.
with a site plan, that only gives him 2 weeks.
that's true. So it should be the first. Yeah.
Okay. And what's the other one?
Oh, that's right. So it's got to be May. Yeah.
Okay.
Has to be the first Wednesday in May.
Okay.
The second issue is the noisy dogs, and he has complied with the RSA with a cease and desist, in fact, that the selectmen signed last year in July. Under the RSA, you're allowed to have dogs outside barking for 30 minutes, no more. It's 32 minutes, you're in trouble. So he did comply with that. He made certain that the dogs were only out there for 10 or 15 minutes, so his assistants could clean the containment area up and bring them back inside. However, McBurney and Bell are insisting that they're out there all day. So we don't want to get into another slanging match as we did last year. So I think my recommendation is to go back to the attorney and follow through, and if the board agree, is that you allow me to write a letter to Dr. Lester and ask him to appear before the planning board for a new site plan review.
And I think that's good. I think he should come in May. And I think if anything happens that he doesn't come in May, or we don't hear from him, then the only alternative is to take the dog kennel down. Because in order to have the dog kennel, he's really got to have another site plan review.
How long has this been on Tony's list?
Wow.
It's been on his list a while. I mean, with his other duties.
Is that a year? Is it-
Bill. Oh, no, not.
Maybe a year.
Close.
Close to a year.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Been a while.
no, yeah.
Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
Send Dr. Lester a letter and asking him to come to the next planning board meeting on May 2nd with a new site plan.
Paul, question. This was his suggestion about our town attorney.
This was, yes, this was also a suggestion of Walter.
This is the way to go.
Yeah, this is the way to go. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because he has, as far as we're concerned, as far as the town's concerned, the issue of the noisy dogs was resolved, but not the unauthorised kenneling.
What's the number of dogs?
So they're out there 3 or 4 at a time. I mean, there's not.
Are they recovering dogs from an operation?
He keeps them in overnight for observation. They are recovering from surgery. Yes. Yes.
So this is not long-term kenneling?
No.
No, he does not board animals anymore.
Right.
He was.
He
He
was,
was.
but he doesn't anymore.
He was. Yes.
Yeah.
So do I have the board's blessing to also
Yes,
go back
you
to our
do.
attorney and tell
Yes,
him
you do.
what you've told?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, the campground dumpster?
Campground dumpster issue is as follows. We have a waste management dumpster at the campground, which our contract with waste management expires in November this year. People out of season, of course it's misused and abused out of season, it's full up, it's not locked, bags are on top and bags are around it. And the Public Works Department has removed what they can, but people come from Holderness and people from, I believe from Levitt Hill just dump there as well. The options that we put before the board are, shall we keep our contract with Waste Management through November, and there is a locking mechanism on there, and ask them for extra keys. They'll give us some extra keys, which we then can duplicate and give to the campground owners, so that it will just be the campground people that come there can put their garbage in and nobody else. Or conversely, do you want to give up the waste management, have them remove it? It will cost us, well, we don't know what the cost is because the lady never got back to us today, but we will lose about $750, $800 because of that. There's no refund on the dumpster. And then Tim Paquette has suggested that we put up a wooden structure which he'll build, lockable, and keys given to the campground owners. Tim, I believe every other day has been down there in season taking trash away, so it's no obstacle for him.
Well, the thing is, if we lock it, if they put bags out now when it's full, they're going to put bags out with it locked. So the dumpster only comes once a week. Tim said that he would be able to go 3 times a week. I would rather see Tim do it and have the town responsible, because this way we have more control over it. And this way it would be taken care of more often. My concern is we're just going to run into the same problem with it being full as we do with it being locked. I think people are going to leave bags. That's my own opinion. I would rather see the town handle it. They're going to be going there every other day, so it would all be taken care of. There wouldn't be a lot of rubbish around.
I think Tim also, Madam Chairman, wanted to move the wooden structure that he was thinking of building into another location away from there.
Right, he did.
Yeah, so it would be more beneficial to the campground people than other residents of Ashland,
Vinny, is Tim there?
non-residents.
Tim out there? No.
So the wooden structure would replace the dumpster?
Yes, yes.
And is there something you walk into? And
No, it's very similar to a metal dumpster. You lift it up and it's lockable. I mean,
so
Tim,
how is that going to prevent people from piling their trash?
well, it would be closer to the campground area, because where Waste Management has it now, it's further down. You're right, Phil. I mean, we've got to...
People would still probably put the trash
But
there,
it's been
but
picked
Tim
up.
would be taking care of it 3 times a week, so it's not gonna build up.
Yeah.
With waste management, it's going to build up. They're gonna put it on the outside, and they only pick it up once a week.
What about sorting? Recycling?
There isn't any
There isn't.
drawings with that.
In the campground itself, they have the bins, yes. There are separate bins. The dumpster is used just for the household garbage, trash, the meals and food, etc. But there are
The
receptacles. Yeah, the campground. There are recyclables.
And would that be in one location?
Yes,
All the
it would be in one
recycling
location,
As well
yes.
as the trash?
Yeah.
But as far as the beach and other people, you know, that put their...
So this has got a roof on it? Well, that's a
Yes.
roof.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so-
Pull down and lock it just like a metal dumpster.
And Tim suggested it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah, I
willing to
know.
do it, so it isn't anything that we're asking him to do extra.
So this dumpster is just trash from the campground, that's why the dumpster is there, supposedly.
It's supposed to be, yes, but of
Yeah.
course it's not. It's been used by the
And it's
people.
not, they don't recycle them.
They recycle, the campground people do, but not the people who just...
Oh, okay.
If a resident comes from Holiness and or comes to the beach and throws a black bag there, we
Or
don't
the
know what it is.
Tim comes 3 times a week, let's say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
He'll take the separate recyclables and take them down to the shed, and the bags go in the hopper.
That still isn't going to stop people from putting trash out.
No, but it's going to be collected more often. That's
I was wondering if there was a way that you could stop people from putting the trash out, and maybe, well, no, they put it on the outside anyway, so
Right.
it's locked.
Am I right thinking it's a year-to-year contract?
Yes.
you are correct.
And I think I understood you to say that if you remove it in the fall, you don't get your money, you don't,
If we remove it now, we won't get any money back. No,
and
that's
it's a
correct.
process to do that?
It'll cost us. I don't know the cost, but it'll cost us to have it removed.
They never called you back today?
No,
That's what I was
no, we haven't
concerned
got-
about, is
no.
how much it would be.
We haven't got time. They didn't have time, Roger.
Do you, Ernie?
When I
Did you
ran
have
a
an answer?
campground, we had recycling of everything.
Yeah?
Of course, then we had somebody in the campground all the time. But I think you could probably find a place up there where you could put big barrels like we used to, and the bottles and the cans and the plastic were all separated within the campground before it went down below. And if you do that and then put a building just for your garbage, as long as they're gonna pick it up 3 days a week, and I'm sure you could probably find a place where you could keep it in there, because no matter what you have down that parking lot, they're gonna use it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, one other option which we've discussed is keeping the dumpster where it is through the end of the contract, but having Tim pick up Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, or whenever he wants to do that. So at least the surplus trash will be removed.
So he'd be using the keys for the dumpster and opening up the dumpster? Is that
Well, no,
what
no,
you're talking about? Like
just the
trash
bags
that's
that are overflowing, and still allowing once a week for waste management to come and collect, because we are paying them through November.
around?
So the contract expires in November.
I would rather wait until the next meeting, because I would like Paul to find out how much it's going to be, how much it's going to cost us to get out of the contract early.
Well, I guess there's nothing gained by deciding tonight.
No.
Why do we have to get out of the contract early? Why
Well,
not?
we don't. We can wait till November if we want.
We can wait till November and like Paul said, I think that Tim could pick up the around the waste containers. Is that right, Paul?
Yes.
And let the contract continue and let it expire.
And let
And then
let
when
Tim
it costs the town, you're not throwing,
We're not losing any money, that's fine.
well, that's my opinion.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Fine with me. Unless you want to wait and see how much it's going to cost, I don't know.
I don't think
It'll
it
be a
makes
long
any
enough.
difference what it costs. It'd be
I
nice to know.
can't believe it's
It'd be
going to
nice
cost more
know.
than $100.
But
Well, it's nice to know, right?
I don't think that's,
Well,
But
they will just charge us because,
The charge for removing, yeah, it might be $30 or $40.
I don't imagine they charge removing, I think they
Yeah,
just,
pulling it away. saying is we're
Right,
terminating
it's
the
just, it says
contract.
we're terminating the
That's
contract.
correct, yes.
Right.
I don't see any reason to terminate the contract, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, let them haul it in summer, and while they're hauling it, Ken can bill.
Sure. I agree.
Okay, it's a consensus of the board to keep the contract until November and then ask him to pick up the extra bags that are there?
Okay.
Okay, Time Warner Cable.
I was at a meeting this afternoon in Holderness with representatives from the other towns, and Kate Miller from our franchise cable attorney was there. In a memo that I wrote to you, there is some concern now about the length of the renewal of the contract that we want. Holderness and Ashland have an extension through August 25th, 2012, so there's no rush, but both our towns expired last month. However, with the new technology that's coming in now, there is a fear that cable television won't be around in 5 to 10 years. Certainly in 10 years it'll be gone. It's everything over the internet. So whilst Time Warner are encouraging all the communities to enter into a 10-year program, Plymouth and Holderness Board of Selectmen are saying no, we don't want to do more than 5 years. So I said I would talk to you and encourage you to go along with them, because we certainly don't want to enter into a 10-year contract where we can end up with nothing after 5 years, let's say. But we've had a 10-year agreement with Adelphia, which then became Time Warner Cable. We have not collected any franchise fees in that time. I don't know why. I look back through correspondence. I remember mentioning it to the previous board. My point would be to Time Warner, when we finalise documentation, is to ask them to contribute money to the taping of the Selectmen's programme, paying for camera, paying for staffing and items like that. They would rather do that in a funding and a grant way than they would do the franchise fees, which is just a user fee which is passed through. It goes on the residents' bills and comes back here. So I would recommend that we don't enter into a 10-year agreement.
Has there been any suggestion as to like 3 years or 5 years?
3 to 5, but the other towns feel that 5 years. Time Warner have made it known they will not entertain a 3-year contract.
Well, we definitely don't want to go beyond 5.
No.
I mean, 10 was too long.
No,
The boilerplate contract we're using is the one for Conway in New Hampshire, and each town will have the boilerplate for that, and whatever we want to do in Ashland will be the Ashland documentation, Plymouth, Holderness, etc. So we seem to be much more far ahead than the other towns, because build out, we haven't got anywhere. We did this cable surveys. Build out doesn't seem to be a problem, because areas where there's no cable at the moment, they either have dish or direct TV, the residents, so that's not an issue.
So what you're looking from the board is to let you go back to Time Warner to see if you can...
To go back to the
negotiate
consortium and say to them, our board agrees with the other boards that we will not entertain anything longer than 5 years.
And you want to see if you can get them to pay for the
Yes,
taping? And
to pay for
Okay.
things that we haven't had before, yes.
how does the board feel about that?
That's fine with me.
Okay. The consensus of the board, Paul?
Thank you.
Is there anything else under old business?
No, I don't have any.
Paul?
No,
Patsy?
all business is good.
I just got it, I don't know.
New business?
Oh, yeah. New business, yes. In our budget that was passed, the town telephone system was part of it, and therefore it's been approved. I've been in contact with Bayring over the last few months, Bayring Communications, and tomorrow I'm having a conference call with the area manager and the gentleman David Gibson, who did come to the office last year and look around. He visited all of the town buildings where we're going to have the new telephone system. It's all about connectivity, and it's going to be a resale over the old Fairpoint lines. This cuts down the cost, because if you remember, one of the people or the organisations that we had come forward wanted $16,000 for a new telephone system in the 7 town office buildings. Well, the reason is we would have had new lines. To go over the existing Fairpoint lines saved us a bunch of money. what happens is, instead of calling Fairpoint if there's a problem, you call Bayring Communications and their service, which is much better than Bayring, and because they'll be our provider. We dispense with One Touch, we dispense with the long distance, we dispense with the 20-year-old phones, what is it, Aviar? What is the name? Merlin, Avaya. So we weren't even sure when we did our analysis whether we were paying twice for long distance calls. We think we were, with Fairpoint long distance and with this One Touch, but there was no way we could get out of these agreements. So here we can. So I would like the board's blessing to have David Gibson come up. He's going to revisit his quote, which apparently still stands, the numbers are good. We're going to start with the town office, both the town office and the police department, with these new phones, and then work to the other town offices as we described in our analysis last year.
What's the quote?
The cost will be $2,500 total. Yes.
And it's already in the...
We're basically looking at hardware, Phil. This is the key thing. They're going to be up-to-date modern phones, hopefully handsets Patsy will be able to pick up rather than pulling a cord around, and we can go to a file.
Take it with us.
Yeah, we can take it with us, and there won't be any crackling anymore. And I mean, 20 years for a phone system is pretty good these days.
Now, you don't need anything from us. I mean, that's something that you're working on.
No, it's in the budget, and I
anyway,
just
right?
All this for $2,500.
For that, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, 14 phones at $29 a phone. I mean, it's not that expensive. These are the best of a good bunch.
Phil, do you have any questions?
No.
Danny?
No.
Okay, Operation Seek Shelter?
This is a very new exercise. I'll just back up and explain why Ashland has been chosen. Because of the success of the participation of townspeople and officials at the tabletop exercise in New Hampton School last year, and because of our first responders, and because of our MRC and CERT teams, the volunteers, some of them are here in the audience tonight, the people that put on these exercises for FEMA and Homeland Security feel that Ashland is such ahead of other large cities and towns for preparedness that they want to do an operation Seek Shelter here. What this will entail is our school, our firehouse, as Chief Heath will attest, is our EOC, it's our Emergency Operations Centre, and our school, where we are right now, is our shelter. EMD, Lee Nichols and I went through an exercise, I think it was in March last year, when people from AmeriCorps came up and they vetted the school to see if it was an acceptable shelter, whether we could get 150 beds, cots, blankets in here, and whether they had ADA bathrooms, accessibility and things like that. The answer is yes, we came through with flying colours. This is a perfect shelter for any exercise that we need to do. The people from the two public networks, the health networks, Jim Richardson in Franklin, Bristol, and Donna Quinn, whose name is very familiar to us all here, from the Plymouth Centre, is coming here. I believe it's 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. We're having a meeting with 2 hours with Kimball and Associates. Lee Kimball is the gentleman who put on the tabletop exercise in the New Hampton School, and I think there was over 120 participants. So I am part of the planning committee here, and then we make an announcement to the town. This exercise, although there's a date in your pro forma there, which has to be written to the state for authority purposes, they put June 15th and 17th. That date's not written in stone. We have to check with the principal here at the school just to see whether there's anything going on at all, and we're going to fix an appropriate date, and then we'll let the townspeople know. I believe we found out what the exercise was in the tabletop we did last year. It was an accident on I-93 with a collision of two tankers. This one will be very similar to Hurricane Irene coming through, and the devastation, which didn't happen fortunately here in Ashland, but did in contiguous communities, particularly in Vermont too. So we will be ready for that. I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Have they mentioned anything to the school board at all, where they want to hold it at the school, do you know?
No, the school has not been approached at all yet. That's
Okay.
the next. That's the next thing that we have to do.
Okay.
There was a piece of new business, Madam Chairman, I gave you on your, I left on your account, on your
This is what
paperwork.
you're talking about?
No, this email, I've got
Okay.
new business on top.
Yeah.
Some things do come in late in the day. This I wasn't going to put on at the moment because I hadn't got enough information. But Laurie Vachon is the director of the Lakes Region Community Services, the building that you see on Tenny Mountain Highway. She does an awful lot with the Booster Club, with the clients that come down there, disabled people, and Ashland is well served by the Lakes Region Community Services. She heard through the grapevine that we were doing some alterations at the beach and our concession stand was being closed during the summer months. They being Lakes Region Community Services, have put people in various spots around other towns, and in Plymouth, particularly at Reed's here, the Readery bookstore in Plymouth, and Clothesline, the children's resale boutique. And she would like to have someone come down and man the concession stand during the summer hours. As she says, it could be a win-win for us. She would probably give us some of the profits from the sale of the snacks there, doing a very similar thing that we did, but of course we decided that it's not part of the budget going forward. So I said I would put this before the Board of Selectmen and see what they think.
And Paul, I believe I had you check before when they were down to the Booster Club and you checked and they have their own insurance.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Lakes Region Community Services is total more insurance than you can think.
Yeah, how much of a win-win situation it is for Ashland?
Well, if they were to, I mean, it will serve now. We don't have to pay a gatekeeper or somebody in the concession stand. It'll be a win for the people who are there at the beach. At least they get beverages and food. And I'm sure that we can negotiate some of the profit that's made from the sale of those snacks.
There'll be no rental fees in there, right? There'll be no rental fees.
Well, I mean, that's something that she's talked about there. I don't know. I mean, this is the only thing I've received, Dan, is the email. But I you know, if we wanted to come up and talk to us, there's plenty of time. She could come to a work session and meet with us.
Why don't we do that? We've got time.
We've got plenty of time.
Okay.
But I would like you to hear
Session?
what she has to say. That's okay. Is that all right with you that I ask her to do it next work
Yeah,
session?
that's fine. Phil, is that okay with
Yep.
you?
Thank you.
Town administrators report?
The HEAL grant application met the March 15th deadline, and the town administrator sent copies to all those who'd written letters of support. The first phase calls for a budget of $3,000, which was included in the materials. If the town is awarded the grant, then it is responsibility of the town administrator to see that the strategic initiatives are implemented, deadlines are met, and assessing if we as a community are meeting the goals and standards required under the HEAL principles. The Ashland charrette, prepared by the folks from Plan New Hampshire, is in the hands of the Board of Directors of the ARA, the Ashland Revitalization Alliance. Before it is presented to the general public by Plan New Hampshire, the ARA is inviting stakeholders, the Board of Selectmen and representatives from the state to its unveiling on April the 3rd. Communication with town leadership, residents, neighbouring communities and the state will be key. The struggle will be finding funding for the projects. Unfortunately, Leighton Steakhouse has become another victim of the economy and closed its doors. Meredith Village Savings Bank has transferred the mortgage to a Meredith native, Raymond Rusty Bertholet, who has cleaned up the area around where the dumpster used to be and where the town was having problems. He is orchestrating the auction next week. We received confirmation from our health insurance carrier LGC that the increase of 2.4%, which was budgeted, came right in at the gross maximum rate for our July renewal. The union will be joining the non-union health plan effective April 1, 2012. At the Board of Selectmen work session on March 12th, the Selectmen signed the agreement with Primex to be the Town of Ashland insurance provider for workers' compensation and property and liability insurances. On March 22nd, Rick Alpers from Primex is coming to the town office to carry out the open enrollment with department heads as respect those lines of coverage. It was announced in December of last year that assessors from the assessing firm of Comerford, Nider and Perkins will be visiting properties in Ashland in readiness for the revaluation in 2013. Some residents have been startled to find individuals in their yard with measuring sticks and have called the town office accordingly. Please look for their picture IDs hung around their necks. A reminder that on Saturday, March 31st from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m, the Ashland Firefighters Association is hosting a rabies clinic sponsored by Northern Lakes Vet Hospital at the Ashland Firehouse for a cost of $10.50.
Select board items?
We have two abatements. Two abatements.
This is abatement is for, I guess it's Reese Broad, Frederick and Christina. The original value is $264,750. The adjusted value is $246,600. So the difference is $18,150. Recommend adjustment of the building value after inspection. This is the assessors. Adjusted house, 5% functional for unheated second floor and block foam construction. Adjusted land influence factor for no view as property is wooded. I'll make a motion to accept the abatement request of $246,600. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Are there 2 pages, Patrick?
Yes, please, yep. I tried to put stickers on them for you.
Thank you. Remember what Glenn said? Thanks, Dean.
Oh, it's okay.
This is Stephen Orlick, is it? The original assessment is $151,750, and the adjusted value is $111,150. So the difference is $40,600. The assessor recommends adjustment of building value after inspection, adjusted the BAS to 1.5, condition to fair and grade to average, adjusted rear addition for unfinished shed area on the first floor, adjusted 5% external for proximity to the mill. The house is in need of extensive updating, and second floor apartment is not usable with a lot of deferred maintenance. I'll recommend the abatement of $111,150.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
Can I just, for the abatements, can you, it should be just, the wording should be to accept the recommendation, not the abatement of 111,000.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Recommendation, that's
just-
fine.
okay,
Yeah.
Just,
Did you second my motion both times? So I'll revise it then. Is that okay? Okay.
okay.
I revised my motion, Phil, to recommend something. Does anybody else have any other select board item?
Do you want to just do my memo? Can I address my memo to you
Okay, which one's that?
about vacancies on boards and commissions?
Yep.
I delivered a memo to you folks that I'm reviewing the appointments because I have an appointment book. Most of the appointments expire at the end of April, and so on the first meeting of April, we'll present you with a list of those people, those positions that are unfilled. And in the past, we've contacted those people who are in those positions with expired to see if they wanted to continue. Is that the practice that you would like to continue to do?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, and so I will give you a list for the April meeting.
Okay.
And at that time, we can put it in the bulletin and stuff like that, that these positions are available. Okay?
Any other select board items?
I don't.
Nope.
The new board has a lot of things to do. We've got a lot on our plate. And before we come to public comments and concerns, I would just like to say that I'm not going to be taking any public comments or concerns from the past. The board has a lot to do. I will take any public comments and concerns now or in the future, but as far as the past, it's gone by, and we would like to start out as a new board, and we'd like to do everything that we're supposed to do, and there's a lot on our plate. There's a lot warrant articles that were passed, warrant articles that weren't passed that we have to deal with, the capital improvement plan, we have to work on the committee for that. There's a lot of things that we have to work on, so I just wanted to say that before we have any public comments or concerns. Patsy?
I do have a public comment for all those that are viewing. I would like to thank the citizens who helped on March 13th. We had a lot of election officials that weren't able to work the polls, and we had a lot of volunteers that took their place, and I'd just like to publicly thank them all. And also, Food for All has been feeding the election workers for several years, and I would like to publicly thank them for taking that task on for us also. Thank you.
Maybe it would be nice, Paul, if we sent Linda Baker a letter. We had one for the Food for All. Maybe it'd be nice if we sent her a letter just thanking them for the food, because they do provide it every year, like Patsy said. Okay, any other select board items?
Public comment.
Okay, public comments and concerns. Ingrid?
Ingrid Heidenreich. Phil, as you were a write-in candidate this year and did not have an opportunity to participate in candidates night with the other registered candidates, I'd wonder if you could please take this opportunity to tell us why you chose to run, what your goals and visions are for both yourself for this upcoming year as well as for the town of Ashland. Thank you.
Well, I'm not going to answer that now. I think that's just, I'm not in a position to answer that now.
Can I ask why? I'm just wondering why you ran and what your plans are.
If he chooses not to answer it, he does not have to answer it, Ingrid.
I think that's, Madam Chair, I think that is in the category of your
Pass?
wanting to leave the past behind, and that is clearly old stuff.
Well, Madam Chairman, may I have a follow-up comment?
What is the comment, Ingrid?
Well, my comment is I'm not sure how hit my question in regards for his vision for the future for the town of Ashland has to do with the past. I'm just simply asking what were his intentions to run just like all the other candidates. Now that he's on the board, I'd just like to know what he'd like to do, what his vision is.
He does not want to answer that
And that
question.
says a lot for his vision.
He's on the board, you come to the meetings, you can see what he does at the
My
meetings.
question's been answered, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Are there any other questions? David?
Hi, Dave Toth. Could the board give us more details about the engineering report on the fire department roof? I heard a number of items discussed, but what are the specific problems that are detailed in the report, and what are the recommendations for dealing with those
Well, it's
problems?
definitely the water, the insulation, and Paul, do you have yours with you?
I do. Okay.
I don't know if I have mine with me. David, hold on a second, okay? Do you want to read some of the things that are on it? Oh, do you want me to do it? Well, I think I might. I just saw it.
Yeah. You've got pretty pictures.
Actually, there's a lot to it, Dave. I can just kind of basically go through it. It's mechanically or adhere roof system over existing burr. That's $44,000. It's going to have a half-inch thick at office to match existing fiberboard, 3 inches thick at garage to match existing EPS, which I don't know a lot of her language. It's got removal of some of the roofing, removal of the existing burr roofing, deck repair and replacement, general repairs, wire brush to the deck, and trusses to remove rust to prep for welding. Additional design and engineering, strengthening of the truss, material is like $2,000, labor a crew of 5 for $3,000 a day is $15,000, additional interior staging, things like that. There's so much to it.
Would it be possible to put that on the website so you could all see it?
I don't think it's necessary to put it on the website, but if you would like a copy, I'm sure we could give it to you.
I was going to say, there will be, as it's a public document, there will be one in the town office for
Right.
people to review.
Right.
So, just to review, not to take on.
All that for $50,000.
No, no,
That's all we got.
that's all we have is 50. That comes to 100 and something thousand. Steve?
I'm not sure if it would help that Mr. Preston's already asked for a visit to look at that, and it might be useful if people are actually interested. I'm willing to have people down there at a time, if we're out of here in a few minutes. Perhaps we could do it later, after this meeting. I'd be happy to take people around, and I can go over the report with them as we're looking at the actual spots that she's referring to, if that would be helpful.
It would be helpful.
And then if you wanted to go to the town office, I'm sure there's a copy. Thank you, Steve. Are there any other public comments? Jamie?
With the fire department roof, why don't we look at USDA grant since we have $50,000? Usually it's an 80-20 grant. Instead of doing the library roof or looking at that, why don't we look at the fire department?
Because the USDA rural grants that are given to the communities, we could not get any more than $10,000 right now, vis-a-vis the amount when we tried to do the booster club was the most we could get was $6,600. USDA rural communities are simply that. They are looking for smaller items within the communities, and they wouldn't be prepared to do anything as big as the fire department roof now.
Are there any other grants at all, Paul? Do you know from any place else? I know there are grants out there. Sometimes it's difficult to find them.
There are. I think a lot of people turn around and say, well, there must be a grant out there for this, and because Bristol have been very successful in getting grants to the tune of 1.2 million to do their downtown area and things like that, people are under the impression that grants are very, very quickly available. Well, they're not. They're not. The funding from the feds has been reduced considerably. You try and get a DES grant, it's impossible. Stacey Luke, who's been helping us get these smaller grants, is still looking on a daily basis because that's her involvement. She is the grant writer for the Merrimack County Conservation District. It's just nothing, there's nothing out there.
Can I answer your question, Jamie?
That does, thanks.
Excuse me?
That does, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Jamie?
I have one more. How much has the town spent trying to get the new highway employee the CDL license?
Oh, the other one. George,
George Chase, I don't know, we'd have to look it up.
I don't know.
He still currently doesn't have one, correct?
Right. But I think he is studying. Last time I talked to him.
Thank you.
But the town has to pay for that anyway because he's going to need it.
Right, but how many times is the town gonna pay for it? It's $20 every time he goes down to take his test, so how many times is the town?
Well, let's see, let's think positive and hope that he passes it the first time.
What, I got a question. Why is the town paying for his CDL in the first place?
Because he works for it.
He's a town employee now, and he was hired without the
If
requirements
I
that he's supposed to.
was gonna be hired for some type of construction, I would get a CDL on my own. I mean, I'm from the old age, that's what we used to do, but modern times, they do things a little different now, I guess, so the town will pay for it. Tough to be from the Stone Age.
May I say, just it would be the same way as we hire Johnny Smith off the street with no experience, and he wants to be a fireman. We're paying for that training also. So it's the same way. I think it works both ways, no matter.
Well, I can see in the fire department where you're gonna pay money to train this guy, but I think it's a little splitting the hairs, huh?
Did we train our police chief?
That's the academy.
Yeah,
Town,
send him to the academy.
Town paid for the
town
academy.
academy.
Yeah.
I guess, like I say, I'm from the Stone Age, so I guess it's okay.
Are there any other questions or concerns, Cheryl?
Yeah, I just have a
Just a
question.
second.
Hold on 1 second there, okay? I just have a question in regards to the, if the welfare officer position is up for it's not. Well, I don't know if if it's even possible for me to throw my hat in the bag for that because of the fact that Paul is my husband. But I wanted to let you know that there is an interest in me doing that as far as myself is concerned. I've had plenty of experience working with people that have needed assistance in the past and just feel that I would have good qualifications for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question of based on your Time Warner thing. Have you guys ever thought about looking for different cable systems? Because my family were recent people who went into the Time Warner cable thing, and we didn't like the price that we had to pay for less amount of channels or whatever it is. So if you could try to find some other cable systems.
There isn't.
Can I answer that? Tabitha, that's a very good question. It's come up a lot in the past. Time Warner has a monopoly really in this area. Fairpoint Communications is just about to get in to the cable franchise agreement arena. So you might see some changes in the prices going down for Time Warner. A lot of people around here are using Dish or DirecTV, but Fairpoint Communications has come out of bankruptcy and they are looking to be a contender. So we don't know, but that's probably a couple of years away.
Okay.
But we tried to get Comcast and Metrocast into this area, but they didn't think the population was big enough to support it. So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Good.
Sandy?
I was a safety officer for the electric department, and I don't know what Jamie's question actually and who it was meant for. George, is that not so? Does George have a CDL? Is that who we're talking
I
about?
don't think he has it yet.
But he's been driving more than a 1-ton, and I believe you have to have a CDL
There
if
is
you
a
drive
truck that he
over
can-
26.
There is a truck that he can drive without it.
Yes, that's the 1-ton.
I don't know that he's been driving it.
I've seen him drive other trucks, and that's over 26.
I would have to, we'd have to ask his boss, we'd have to ask him.
Was he by himself, Sandra?
Yes,
He was.
yeah. And I'm only concerned about our insurance, you know, as far as the town, with driving without a CDL.
I think if he was driving with another employee that has a CDL, in training and working, you can't do that?
He's done by himself. I've seen him a few
No, no, I said,
Yeah.
if
yeah.
he was, but if he's driving by himself, then
He was
that's a
driving by himself.
no-no.
He was driving by
I'd have to talk with
himself.
him, because I don't know what he's.
Yeah, we'd have to talk to the Jim Clark had referenced that.
We'll find out.
And you're right, if the
I'm just
Something
thinking about the
happened with
insurance for the town.
insurance for the town.
That will be checked into, Sandra. Ingrid?
Previously, I asked a question in regards to seat belts in town employees, and I know at the work session last week, Rick Alpers came and was discussing the new policy, and one of the things he mentioned was a seatbelt policy that I believe is in place, and he believed was in place within this town. When I previously asked this question, I was informed by the board that they would ensure that that was being followed. I'd like to reiterate that town employees are not driving around with their seatbelt on. Although it is not New Hampshire law, if the town has a policy on that, and we have now informed our insurance providers that we follow that policy, it should be ensured that they are wearing their seatbelts.
But
if
we
they
have to
haven't-
know what department and who it is so that we can take care of the problem.
Let me finish my question. Thank you. I would like to know what the penalty is from our insurance provider should one of the town employees get into an accident and does not have their seatbelt on. Because I know with my own personal insurance provider, they will not cover me. So if that could be found out and informed to me, I would appreciate it.
We will do that.
Thank you very much.
Get that, Paul?
Yep.
Any other comments and concerns? If there are no other comments or concerns, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:58 PM. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned.